Hey, what's up guys, it's TJ here. Hope you guys are doing well. Today I just wanted to give you guys a couple of quick tips on shooting smoother and more cinematic shots. I know I got a couple of questions on how I actually hold my vlog camera, so I thought this would be a good way to go ahead and talk about a few tips that can help you guys shoot smoother shots, more cinematic shots. I know a lot of you may have some problems with like shaky shots and things like that. I think this person really wanted to know how to hold a vlog camera straight and without it shaking so much. So here's a few tips on not only just how to hold the vlog camera, I guess, but just in general how to get smoother shots overall when you're trying to make a more cinematic, more professional looking video. It'd be nice to talk about these sorts of topics like once a week, you know? Today is Wednesday, right? We'll do it every Wednesday. So tip number one is using your hands. I know, a lot of you might have shaking hands and stuff like that, but here's a couple of tips on how to use your hand. Handheld videography is actually pretty in right now. There's a lot of videography and even movies that use handheld motion to actually make their movies look more cinematic, but it really kind of looks documentary style or amateur style, and that feeling can be a great addition to your video. Now, if you have really shaky hands, I wouldn't recommend this, but you want to make sure you have at least 2 to 3 points of contact on your camera at all time, or stabilizing your camera at one time. So I would just say to make sure you're firmly holding your camera with 2 hands. This is not a real camera, but make sure your right hand is over your shutter and your left palm is kind of resting underneath the camera, underneath the lens, and it will really help you get a nice smoother motion. A lot of people like to hold the camera like this. I don't think that's really the best way to do it. Make sure you have your palm underneath the lens, underneath the camera, and you have a lot of surface area kind of covered if you do it that way, and it gives you a nice smoother shot. Also, you can use your elbow against your body. That will give you that 3rd point of contact to make your shots even smoother. So yeah, that will help you make sure you kind of minimize that camera shake. You don't want it too shaky. Some camera shake is good, and it can make the video seem kind of amateurish or kind of documentary-ish, but that may be the feel or the look that you're going for in your video. Tip number 2 is to use a handle of some sort. Now, I don't have a handle with me, but a handle or a tripod or something. We all seen Casey Neistat use I probably butchered his name, Casey Neistat. We probably seen him use the GorillaPod in his videos before, and that's one form of getting your hands away from the camera and kind of it helps you get a more steady shot that way. But there's tons of other small mini tripods out there. These smaller tripods can kind of double as a tripod, but also a handle, like a type of handheld selfie stick. There's plenty of selfie sticks out there. You can find those at Walmart or any type of local store, and you can get pretty cheap with these things. I mean, they're just there to get your hands away from the camera, hold something nice, firm, and steady, and it will help minimize that camera shake even more. Tip number 3 is a tripod. I mean, everybody knows what a tripod is, right? You got cheap tripods and you have relatively expensive tripods. You want to be somewhere in the middle. I mean, especially if you're not, doing a lot. But I wouldn't recommend going and buying a really cheap tripod because they don't last long. If it's made out of plastic and all that stuff, they don't last long. They're not durable. They don't really provide stable support for your camera. Say you have a nice lens. You don't want a nice lens and a nice camera on a really cheap tripod. You want something that's going to protect your equipment. But tripods like this portable tripod that I found, I believe this is a Neewer tripod, and Neewer makes a lot of equipment that's affordable and really nice. Now this thing is pretty solid. It's metal. It folds up to be very small, and it actually doubles as a monopod, and I'll have this linked in the description box. But it's very durable, it's very flexible, and it's made out of some good material, but it's not too expensive. Now, what a tripod can do for you is supply a stable shot. You're gonna have a nice still image like what we have right now, and that can be used for documentaries, or it could be used for just sit and talks like this. It can be used for interview style videos as well. So a lot of times what I like to do is have 2 cameras set up on on different tripods, and I jump between the two cameras to make the shot more interesting. But a tripod is going to give you a stable, more professional looking video, especially if you're doing some type of interview or some type of documentary. And also you can add in camera shake later. If you have a program like After Effects, you can put in a realistic camera shake in post. And that realistic camera shake can add a little bit of flavor to your video and make it feel a little bit less boring. So tip number 4 is a fluid head tripod. And fluid head tripods can get pretty expensive. I have one back here and it's not that expensive. It's actually pretty cheap. I think this was about $100. I'll have that linked in the description box below, but it can get pretty expensive when you start looking at the Manfrotto tripods, where the fluid heads are really nice, but they're really expensive. So you want to find something kind of middle of the road, something that you can make sure you get a good, nice fluid shot with, but you know, you're not going to break the bank with. Now what fluid head tripods do is they add some resistance to your camera motion so that you can get a nice fluid and smooth shot. Now this really adds a cinematic and really professional look to your videos, and you'll see a lot of these used in commercial shoots or wedding shoots as well. But a fluid head tripod can really add some nice smooth motion to your panning or tilting shots and add some dynamic to your still tripod shot. So you're not just sitting there and looking at one subject, you're kind of moving and bringing that subject into focus or bringing it into the shot, and it really adds some flavor to your video. Tip number 5 is a dolly or camera slider. You know, there's dollies that have, you know, wheels at the bottom, you can move it nice and smooth, or you have sliders that kind of slide in a linear motion, and these really add a smooth cinematic motion to your video. Now these can be very expensive as well, but I have one here from Neewer that I picked up not too long ago. Haven't had it for a long time, and it's a decent slider. It doesn't have a motor or anything on it or a belt drive. That's something that I would want to have, but right now this is where I wanted to stay at. I didn't want to spend too much money. I wanted to get something nice and something that will work for what I'm doing. It also has a fluid head on the top, and this gives you a nice fluid motion. And also you can slide this thing back and forth, which gives you a nice smooth motion as well. It's made out of carbon fiber and is built pretty well. I'm enjoying it so far. I haven't had any complaints about it. And just like the fluid head tripod, you'll see most of these in commercial shoots, you'll see them in wedding videography, and it really looks professional and cinematic. Lastly, just use your intuition, use your resources. Be very resourceful in what you do have, because what you do have is just enough to get the job done. You just have to be a little bit more creative, think it out a little bit more, and that will really help. Like one thing that I do with my drone, I know a lot of people actually like some of my drone shots. It's not that I'm like a great drone operator, it's just that I know that what looks good is making sure there's as minimal motion as possible. You want to make sure that it's a smooth, fluid motion, and that the viewer doesn't feel like someone is operating this drone point of view that I'm looking at. You want to make it feel like the viewer is just in the sky and there's no one operating this drone. So editing actually plays a big factor in that, making sure that you edit out all the stuff that isn't fluid. There's like a military helicopter passing by. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's pretty cool. And it's very low too. Editing out all of those portions of the video that look jerky, whether it's handheld or whether it's the drone in the sky or whether it's on a dolly or a fluid head tripod, editing out all of those jerky motions is what makes the video more cinematic, more smooth. Make sure you use the footage, the footage that makes your video look more professional, and edit out all the rest. Anything that doesn't make the cut, edit it out and don't even think about it. Also remember, you can use all of these techniques together to make a nice cinematic and smooth sequence and add that to your video. Just go out there, get some B-roll and figure out which one you like the best, or maybe you want to use all of them combined together, but just figure out your technique and the way that you want to use these things. So I think that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think And also let me know what you would like to talk about in the next video next week in the comments below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.